Hey everybody, it's September 27th, 2008, Friday. Thanks for stopping by. I thought I would say a little bit about the debate between McCain and Obama today at the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss. It was very interesting to me, some of the underlying assumptions of the debate. One of the underlying assumptions was that the economic stimulus package would be passed and that it has to be passed. This is despite the fact that 70% of the American public is opposed to passing this legislation and have called and emailed Congress furiously today in order to express that fact. So they both talked about how they were going to work on passing this bailout of AIG, even though their constituents have consistently told them not to do it. I found that to be kind of strange. Also, I found it strange that the underlying assumption that Russia was at fault, solely at fault for the conflict in Georgia, which is utterly false. Neither McCain nor Obama would acknowledge the fact that Russia did not attack first. Georgia attacked South Ossetia, and Russia responded to that attack. And, since then there's been debate about whether Russia went too far in their response to the attack. But what isn't debated is that Georgia attacked first, and they attacked civilians, and they killed or displaced thousands of people. That's just a fact. And McCain said today that Russia attacked Georgia and was unprovoked, that it did it unilaterally, and that there was no reason for it. Russia just did it because they felt like doing it. Okay, that is an utter falsehood. And John McCain should be absolutely ashamed of himself for lying to us in such a fundamental way. Of course, the lies were so thick and fast in that debate that it was hard to keep track of them all. Almost everything they said was either nonsensical or just a lie. And that was one of them. Okay, and another underlying assumption was that we are winning the Iraq War, and that if we withdraw from Iraq at any time in the near future, we will have somehow, to use John McCain's fancy new slogan, snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Okay, it was a night of slogans. It was a night of recrimination, but not a night of ideas or, vision for the future. Neither McCain nor Obama would get specific about how they were going to help the economy, because they're not economists. They don't know anything about economics, and they don't care. Neither Obama nor McCain would speak the truth about foreign policy and how the United States has gotten itself into this predicament that we're now in with terrorism. Of course, John McCain and Obama, neither one of them will tell you that Al-Qaeda was basically a creation of the CIA, that the original purpose of Al-Qaeda was to fight the Russians in Afghanistan, that we created them and propped them up to fight the Russians. And now they are our enemy, if they actually exist, which I don't know that they really do. But, to the extent that they exist at this point, they are our fault because we originally created them. This is all kind of hazy stuff. We know that we created these groups in Afghanistan, and we called them Al-Qaeda because it was Arabic for the base, and what it literally was a database of people that we drew up to coordinate resistance against the Russians. So we had a database of militants that we drew up, and we called it the base, Al-Qaeda. Now, I don't know if this group still exists or if they don't, but to the extent that they do, we have a lot of responsibility for their creation. And of course, we have responsibility for our own actions in the Middle East and all over the world in perpetuating our global empire that causes, untold suffering and causes people to resent the United States and to consider fighting against the United States. And yet we act like, they just can't stand the fact that we're free, so they come over here to kill us, which is, of course, just utter nonsense. So back to the debate. Of course, Obama and McCain, neither one of them will recognize our own culpability in our current crisis. We're totally innocent. Everyone else is totally evil, and that's all there is to it. And neither one of them seems willing to acknowledge the fact that the Iraq War isn't going well. It hasn't gone well in a long time, and everybody knows it. Almost everyone is against the Iraq War that has any sense, because almost everyone recognizes that the Iraq War was not about terrorism. It wasn't about anything but the special interests who lobbied Washington. And I don't know if it was mainly about oil or mainly about Israel, but it wasn't about terrorism. That is for sure, because this was a secular dictatorship that had no ties to Islamic militants whatsoever. Okay, that's just a fact. Now, they try to gloss over everything that's going on in Iraq and say the surge worked. And, McCain attacks Obama on Iraq. That, to me, is the most nonsensical thing that I've ever seen. I mean, for McCain to brag about his support for the Iraq War and to attack McCain because he wants to get out of Iraq, even though, it's quite clear most of the America is in favor of that. I wonder what he's playing at. What could he possibly be thinking when he says all these things that people, oppose? Of course, both of them say that they want to vote for the bailout, even though most Americans oppose it. That's shocking enough to me. I don't understand that disconnect. But the disconnect about Iraq is just, it's the elephant in the room. I mean, how could you possibly run on the Iraq War? It doesn't make any sense. So, I don't know what's going on here, but it's really strange to me that he would even try to talk about Iraq at all. It seems like, Obama would very easily win this election just by talking about getting out of Iraq and pressing home the point that McCain is a staunch supporter of the war, and yet it's the opposite. McCain is attacking Obama, and basically they're just saying it's the same old thing. They don't talk about policy a whole lot. They just say, okay, you voted for this, why'd you do that? And then the other guy says, no, I didn't vote for this, you voted for that. And they just trade accusations. Obama accuses McCain of wanting to cut taxes on the rich, and McCain accuses Obama of being too liberal or of trying to get too many earmarks and spend too much money. And that's all it was, really, just a bunch of nonsense. But the thing about the Iraq War really puzzled me and made me wonder what is going on. It's pretty surreal, to tell you the truth. But anyway, that was my take on the debates, the ridiculous debates, and thanks for watching.